The sun was harsh over the endless desert. Sam had been riding for hours, yet the world around him seemed empty and unforgiving. The horizon stretched in every direction, waves of heat, making the air shimmer. His horse, a tired brown mare named Daisy, walked slowly over the sand and stones, her hooves crunching softly. Sam barely noticed. He had been moving without purpose for days. Life had taken almost everything from him. His small ranch was gone after a storm, and the people he had trusted had either left or turned away. He felt alone in a world that seemed to hold no hope for men like him. As the sun climbed higher, Sam's strength began to fail. His throat was dry, his lips cracked, and sweat soaked through his shirt. He had brought only a small water canteen, and it was almost empty. Each sip he took now was precious, but it could not last long. He knew the signs of dehydration, the dizziness, the pounding in his head, but he kept riding, hoping to find some sign of life, a town, a creek, anything. But the desert held nothing but sand, rocks, and the occasional stubborn cactus that seemed to laugh at his suffering. Sam's mind wandered as he rode. He thought of the days when his life had been full, when the cattle ran free across the pastures, when his small home smelled of fresh bread, and when the laughter of neighbors brought warmth to even the coldest nights. All of that was gone. His ranch had been swept away by a storm that he could not control, and all he had left was the memory of better times. He felt the weight of defeat pressing down on him, heavier than the sun, heavier than the miles he had traveled. Eventually, Daisy slowed to a stop near a rocky outcrop. Sam slid from her back, his legs shaking, and fell to the ground beside her. The heat was unbearable, but more than that, his heart was weary. He stared at the sky, the vast blue above, and thought about how easy it would be to give up, to let the desert take him and end his wandering. His mind whispered the idea that he had nothing left to live for. He felt ready to die, ready to let the world forget his name. Just as he closed his eyes, a faint sound reached him, a soft rustling, almost like the wind moving through distant leaves. Sam opened his eyes slowly. At first, he thought it was his imagination, the desert playing tricks on him. But then, he saw movement in the distance, figures approaching through the heat waves. Sam tried to sit up, but his body refused. He was too weak to even call out for help. The figures grew closer, and he realized they were people, villagers, moving carefully across the sand. Among them was a woman, walking with steady confidence. Her dark hair was tied back, and her eyes were calm but sharp. Sam could not understand everything about her, but he knew immediately that she carried authority among the group. She looked at him with concern, not fear or judgment. Her gaze felt like a lifeline. The villagers reached him quickly. They worked together to lift Sam onto a simple stretcher, and the woman, who introduced herself as Naya, led the way. She explained that they were from a nearby Apache community, and that he had been found in serious danger. Sam tried to speak, to thank them, but his throat was too dry, and his voice barely emerged. Naya smiled gently, placing a hand on his arm to reassure him. "Rest," she said. "You are safe now. That is all that matters." The ride to their village was slow. Sam lay on the stretcher, feeling the warmth of the sun against his skin, but also the relief of being cared for. Naya walked beside him, her eyes scanning the desert for any signs of danger, her steps steady and sure. Sam noticed the way the villagers worked together quietly, each movement purposeful and careful. He realized that in this small group, life had meaning and order. There was a rhythm to their world that he had not known in a long time. When they arrived at the village, Sam saw a place that seemed almost hidden in the desert. Small huts, made of wood and clay, clustered together, and children ran along the paths, laughing. Livestock moved freely, tended by villagers who smiled but did not stare at the newcomer. Naya guided Sam to a small shelter, simple but clean, where she began to care for him. She brought water, which he drank slowly, savoring every drop. Then, she prepared a light meal of corn and beans, offering it to him with patience and understanding. As Sam rested, he began to notice the quiet power of Naya. She did not speak more than necessary, but every word seemed measured, full of care. She checked his pulse, helped him sit upright, and wrapped a damp cloth around his forehead to cool him. Sam realized that she was a healer, not just of bodies, but of spirits. He felt an unfamiliar warmth in his chest, a sense of hope he had thought was gone forever. The day turned to evening, and the desert's harsh sun gave way to a cooler sky painted with orange and purple. Sam and Naya sat together outside her shelter, watching the horizon. He listened as she spoke softly about the land, about the stories of her people, about the importance of courage and patience. Sam tried to share his story, but his words felt clumsy and heavy with sorrow. Naya listened without judgment. She only nodded, encouraging him gently to continue. That night, the village was quiet. The stars shone brilliantly overhead, like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Sam felt a strange sense of peace, lying near the small fire outside Naya's shelter. He had not felt safe in so long. And now he did. Naya sat beside him, her presence calm and reassuring. They spoke quietly, sharing their thoughts on loss, on loneliness, and on the struggles that each had faced. Sam realized that he was not alone in his pain, and somehow, that made the world feel less heavy. Hours passed, and sleep overtook Sam. He fell into a deep rest, the first real rest he had known in days. Naya remained beside him, watching over him, ensuring that he was safe. Neither of them spoke now. Words were unnecessary. In the quiet of the desert night, a fragile bond had begun to form, one built on trust, compassion, and shared understanding. Sam did not know what the future held, and he did not think about it. All he knew was that he had been saved when he had thought the world had abandoned him. He had been ready to die, yet here he was, breathing, alive, and cared for by someone who had no reason to save him, but did so anyway. That thought, simple yet profound, gave him the tiniest spark of hope. And so, under the wide desert sky, with stars above and the gentle crackle of the fire beside him, Sam slept. He slept not only to restore his body but to begin the slow, careful process of healing his heart. Tomorrow, the world might still be harsh, the desert still vast. But for tonight, he had been given a second chance, and he would hold on to it. Morning came quietly to the desert village. The sun rose slowly, spilling warm light over the huts and the small paths between them. Sam awoke with a start, the memory of the night before lingering in his mind. He had slept deeply, more deeply than he had in days, and for a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he saw Naya sitting nearby, gently arranging a few herbs by the fire. The sight reminded him of everything that had happened, the rescue, the care, and the warmth of the small community that had saved him. For a moment, he felt awkward. He realized he had woken beside Naya, and although nothing improper had occurred, he understood how the sight might appear to others. He felt a rush of guilt, worried that he had unintentionally caused trouble for the woman who had saved his life. Naya noticed his unease and smiled softly, her eyes calm. "You are safe," she said simply. "Rest now. Do not worry about what others think." Sam nodded, though the feeling of embarrassment remained. He rose slowly, testing his strength. His body still felt weak, but his spirit was lighter than it had been for many months. The villagers had begun their day, moving quietly but efficiently. He watched them for a moment, noticing how everyone had a role, a purpose. Children laughed and ran along the paths, carrying small baskets of food. Elders moved with quiet dignity, tending to the needs of the community. The sense of harmony was almost overwhelming for a man who had lived so long in isolation. As Sam began to eat a simple breakfast prepared by Naya, a few villagers approached her and spoke in soft tones. Sam could not understand their words completely, but their expressions carried a mixture of curiosity and concern. He guessed that they were discussing him and his presence in the village. He felt the weight of his outsider status pressing down on him, but Naya remained calm. She listened patiently, and then answered them firmly, though gently, explaining that he had been saved from death and that her actions were guided by compassion. The villagers nodded, though some still looked wary. Sam could sense that his presence would not be welcomed by everyone, and he began to worry. He did not want to cause trouble for Naya or the community that had offered him shelter. Yet he also felt a growing gratitude for everything they had done. He had been ready to give up, ready to disappear into the desert. But now, he felt a spark of life. Small, but powerful. After breakfast, Naya suggested that Sam take a walk. His body needed exercise, she said, and the desert air could do him good. Sam hesitated, unsure of how he would be received outside the shelter. But he trusted her judgment. As he walked slowly through the village, children waved, and elders nodded in acknowledgement. There was no hostility, only cautious curiosity. Sam began to realize that this place, though unfamiliar, had a rhythm and kindness that he had almost forgotten existed in the world. Naya walked beside him, offering small pieces of advice about the land. She spoke of the plants, of the small animals that lived in the desert, and of the traditions of her people. Sam listened intently, fascinated by her knowledge. He realized that life in this village was not easy, but it was full of meaning. Every action had purpose, every day held lessons, and every person contributed to the community's well-being. The contrast with his previous life was striking. He had wandered alone, lost, and uncertain. Here, he felt part of something larger, even if only for a short time. As the morning turned to afternoon, Sam grew stronger. He helped with small tasks, carrying water, stacking firewood, and assisting in tending the animals. The villagers observed him, some nodding in approval at his willingness to work. Naya remained close, guiding him quietly and correcting mistakes with patience rather than judgment. Sam felt a deep respect for her. She had saved him when he was at his weakest, and now she helped him regain not only his strength but also his sense of purpose. Despite the growing comfort, Sam knew he could not stay forever. He had his own life to rebuild, and he did not want to overstay his welcome. Yet, leaving felt difficult. Naya had become a symbol of hope and kindness, a reminder that the world could still offer compassion even to those who felt forgotten. He wanted to express his gratitude, but words seemed insufficient. He had been given more than water or food. He had been given a second chance at life. As the sun began to sink toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the desert, Sam and Naya sat together once more. They spoke of dreams and fears, of the past and the uncertain future. Naya told him that life always offered a second chance, even when someone believed all hope was lost. Sam listened, absorbing her wisdom. He realized that he did not have to let his past define him. He could take what had happened, the hardships and the losses, and use them to build something new. Later, a village elder approached Sam privately. The elder's face was lined with age, but his eyes held warmth and understanding. He spoke in a quiet, steady voice, explaining that Naya had acted with honor and compassion. Sam listened carefully, realizing that the community saw not only her courage but also his own willingness to accept help and learn. The elder encouraged him to carry this honor forward, to live a life that reflected the kindness he had experienced. Sam felt a deep sense of responsibility and gratitude. That night, Sam prepared to leave. The villagers had shown him hospitality, care, and wisdom, and he wanted to honor them by continuing his journey with purpose. Naya stood by the path, watching him with quiet strength. She did not try to persuade him to stay, understanding that his path lay elsewhere. Yet, she reminded him that life was precious, that hope could be found even in the darkest times, and that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward despite it. Sam mounted Daisy, feeling stronger and more determined than he had in months. He looked back at the village, at the small cluster of huts, bathed in the soft glow of the moon, and felt a sense of connection. He had been ready to die, ready to surrender to despair. But now he rode forward, with a renewed spirit. The desert stretched ahead, vast and uncertain, but he no longer faced it with hopelessness. He carried with him the lessons of compassion, courage, and resilience. As he rode through the quiet desert night, Sam thought of Naya and the villagers. He understood that the experience had changed him. He had been given not only life, but also a vision of what it could mean to live fully, to care for others, and to honor those who act with courage and kindness. The memory of waking beside the Apache widow would stay with him, not as a scandal or a source of shame, but as a symbol of hope and renewal. Days passed as Sam continued his journey. Each mile brought new challenges, but also new opportunities. He found work at small ranches, helped repair fences, and guided travelers through the desert. He shared the lessons he had learned in the village: patience, respect, and the importance of community. People began to notice a change in him. He no longer carried the weight of despair but moved with a quiet confidence, grounded in the experience that had saved his life. Even years later, Sam often remembered that desert village and the woman who had changed his fate. He did not speak of it often, but the memory shaped the way he lived. Whenever he faced hardship or doubt, he thought of Naya, her calm strength, and her unwavering compassion. He remembered the morning he woke beside her, the day he realized that life could be given a second chance, and the lessons he carried forward. In the end, Sam's life became richer and fuller than he had imagined possible. The desert, once a place of despair, became a symbol of resilience. The people he met along the way taught him that courage and kindness could be found even in unexpected places. And though he would never forget the struggles of the past, he embraced the future with hope, knowing that life, no matter how difficult, was always worth living. The story of Sam and Naya became a quiet legend among the travelers who passed through the desert, not because of adventure or danger, but because it spoke of the power of compassion, the strength of the human spirit, and the way a single act of kindness could change the course of a life forever. Sam had been ready to die, but he woke to life again, beside the Apache widow who had shown him that hope could bloom even in the harshest places. And so, he rode on, carrying the memory of that forbidden night, not as a shameful secret, but as a gift, a reminder that even in the moments when life seems lost, it is never too late to begin again.